Iowa City is a unique community. This uniqueness is shaped by the people who contribute their ideas, their gifts, and their energy to the life of Iowa City and the university. Welcome to a series of biographical interviews of special women and men who have affected this community. Their lifelong contributions have been valuable, their lives creative and full. What brought them here? Who influenced them? What changes in their field have they witnessed? What contributions are they the most proud of? These and other questions will be explored during this series of interviews entitled, Tell Me Your Story. William Summerwill, better known as Bill, believes in Iowa City. His lifelong contributions support this belief. He has touched by his efforts many, many segments of this community. His areas of involvement have been in business and economic growth, serving as president of the Chamber of Commerce, on the Industrial Committee of the Chamber, a member of the Iowa Development Commission, and 4 governor trade commissions. Health and Community Services. He served as president of Community Givers, a forerunner of United Way, board member of Goodwill, advisory council member of the Hawkeye Area Boy Scouts, Mercy Hospital Corporation Board, and the Senior Center Foundation Board. The arts. He co-chaired the University Art Museum Building Fund campaign. The university is past president of the University Foundation and lifetime director. He was honored by Iowa City in 1963 as its outstanding citizen, and again in 1988 as the recipient of the John Hughes Award for contributions to area economic development. Oh, and by the way, he worked and was president and chairman of the board of Iowa State Bank and Trust for 42 years. Quite a remarkable career, Mr. Summerwill. Let's begin your story at the very beginning, in your early years. Where did you come from and what brought you to Iowa City?
Well, first off, I was born in Mapleton, Iowa, on April 14th, 1909, a long time ago. I moved to South Dakota and went to school at a little town of Canning in central South Dakota, and lived on a ranch from almost all of my schooling years. I graduated from that high school in 1928, and came to the University of Iowa. And Iowa City was a big, big city, and a noisy city for me.
Well, being on a ranch in South Dakota, it was quite a switch.
I could sleep next to a herd of cows and bawling calves, but I couldn't sleep next to that streetcar running up and down Dubuque Street. So it gave me a little problem. But that's when I came here as a student. After I graduated in '32, I went to the Iowa State Banking Department and was lucky to have a job in '32.
Yes.
And from there, the same year, in fall of '32, I went to Sioux City and was an examiner for the Regional Agricultural Credit Corporation, a member, associate of the Farm Credit Administration. I stayed there for 5 years and was assigned South Dakota, Nebraska, all because of my ranching experience. Not because of my education, I don't believe, but because of my
You could talk their language, couldn't you? Because you'd been there.
Yes.
What happened in South Dakota? I know your father was a rancher. Were you all kind of like, you branded calves and cattle, and you had cattle drives? And
Sure.
What happened? The Depression?
What?
What happened to the ranch?
My dad went to South Dakota with $1 million in 1916, and we came out of there in 1928 after some real bad years. He had 3 kids and everything he owned in the back end of a car. So that was his entrance to Iowa City. He came back to Iowa. We came back to Iowa in '28 when I started school down here, and was working for the banking department too. He was liquidating closed banks, and his first one was at Hartley, Iowa. Actually, that was home for about 6 months for me. And then he was given these banks in Iowa City, and I think he had 17 banks in this area, including 4 in Iowa City, closed banks that he liquidated. And he, because of his liquidation of those banks and his association with the banking profession for the first time, after he came from the ranch, he was successful in liquidating those banks. And at that time got the idea that maybe Iowa City needed more than one bank. And therefore he decided to start a new bank, and he did. He was a founder of the Iowa State Bank.
On that same location?
In the same location. And he wanted me to go with him. And I thought if I went with him, I would be the little boy forever. So I said, no, I won't come till I can win my own spurs. And I
Spoken like a rancher.
I stuck it out at in the Farm Credit Administration for 5 years. And in that interim, they had me around. I was in Washington, I was in Helena, Montana, always on big real estate, or not on big cattle or sheep loans, livestock loans. That was my job.
That was your area.
Well, my dad had little experience with me too on the ranch, so he always wanted me to come with him. And he wrote me letters after letter, and finally in '38, he came with a letter and he said, boy, we really need you. And he said, we'll pay you $3,000 a year. That's all we can pay you now, but he says, I can assure you it'll get better. Well, I was earning $5,000 a year at the time.
Cut and pay.
And had 2 kids by now, Dick and Ann. But we decided to make the change and came to Iowa City in 1938, as I said, and with the cut and pay and everything else. And I never made a better decision my whole life.
You're an optimist. You've called, and other people have called you an optimist. Is that something that bankers and most everybody needs, a healthy dose of that to survive and be successful like you've been?
No, I don't think so, but it sure helps. If you aren't an optimist, you won't get anything done. I don't believe. I don't think I'm a big optimist. People I'm associated with, the bank, think they don't call me an optimist.
They don't.
And a conservative is not an optimist. And I think they think I'm very much a conservative. At this time, in this state of the game, as far as I'm concerned, you should be an optimist.
Right.
Or you should be a conservative.
Tell me, yeah, or a conservative. If you had to describe Iowa City or sell Iowa City, which I'm sure you've had to people, what would you say?
Well, I never have had to sell Iowa City. People, I always used to say, for instance, when I was on the Development Commission, let's get them to Iowa. When they get to Iowa, you guys don't have a chance. They'll come to Iowa City. Of course, that's the reason I went on the Development Commission in the first place, because I thought they were shirt-tailing us, taking customers away from us, good industry. But Iowa City is a very gifted city. As I said, we have everything, everything. And people that are here and you look around and know what they're looking at, realize it. I don't think we have any problems at all.
Let's talk about your economic, of the part of the chamber that you were so instrumental in getting an industrial base here. What wasn't here and what's here now because of you and the committee and the chamber?
Well, I think most of it's here because of me and the chamber. But I don't think that'll last for long. In 1947, when I was president of the Chamber of Commerce, one of the things that I wanted to do was to strengthen our industrial base. As I remember, just offhand a little bit, I think 85% of the ground, the land, and the property in Iowa City was out of taxation and was owned by the state. You can't run a business that way. So I wanted to level off the taxes in this area. I wanted the businesses to get some relief by having others in here to help pay the bill. So I went out and I was lucky. First thing I got was more business for them. And the next thing, which I can't claim the total responsibility for, but I had a lot to do with it, and that's the Veterans Hospital, which is, you never think of that, but it's a big one.
Yes, it is.
And Dean McCune, the University of Iowa, the medical school, he was really the dog that got that job done. He took care of the medical end of it. I took care of the political end of it, and we did a pretty good job. But more business forums was just a start. And from then on, with a little success, you know, you get bold. You think maybe you can do it. And we did. We got a lot of good ones.
Owens Brush?
Owens Brush, Shallow Grove, H.P. Smith, Advanced Drainage, which is not so big as far as people are concerned. But I helped. I helped with Procter & Gamble. They didn't need any help, really. They had an in through, well, the president of the First National Bank at that time, Williams?
I don't.
No.
It'll come.
Well, he was a retired officer of the Continental Illinois Bank in Chicago, and he did business with Procter & Gamble, and through him, when they went in there to talk to their banker about where they should locate in this area, he said Iowa City. And they did. And that's the way most of them come.
ACT, was that?
ACT and Westinghouse. That's not what they're called.
What was Westinghouse then?
I didn't get those. Nobody got those. Lindquist founded them. He had the ideas behind them all. As a matter of fact, he's the only genius I ever really knew.
Lindquist.
Lindquist. Oh, he was a dandy. But he established those two firms. I helped along the line. For instance, when he sold that to Westinghouse.
He sold it to...
Westinghouse.
And then National Computers.
Yeah.
After Westinghouse.
Yes. He sold it to them. They were about to leave town because they couldn't get along with the city. We had a city manager at the time that was really the biggest clog in the ointment that anybody ever seen. He was terrible. And I got a call from the governor one day, and he said, "Bill, you know that Westinghouse is going to leave Iowa City?" And I said, "No." He said, "You know they're having trouble?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, can you do them any good? And I said, yes, but I don't like to butt into that. If they want help, let them call me. He said, I think they'll be on the phone within an hour.
And they were.
They were. Governor called them, they called me, and I said, I think I can do you some good. I'll let you know in an hour. I got a hold of, I believe it was city manager by the name of Frank Smiley. I said, Frank, you getting those, what's the matter with those people? He said, I don't know. And I said, are you the manager of this town? He said, yes, I am. I said, well, you better get that fixed up, and tomorrow morning, or I'm going to take my time off, and you will no longer be the manager in this town.
You were upset.
I was upset. When you get the governor and the president of Westinghouse, they're upset about a little deal. You got to get upset or you don't get anything done.
If I would ask you what contribution to Iowa City, you've done so much, Bill, which contribution are you the most pleased about?
Oh, it's got to be the industry that I brought here. Dollar-wise, good for the city-wise, clean-wise. It was perfect. They still are perfect. I wouldn't want to change a bit of it. And it's a base for growth from now on. That's what I got to be the most proud of.
Speaking of growth, looking ahead in the next decade or so for Iowa City, what do you see as some problems or, ahead for us?
I don't see any problem. As I've said before, Iowa City is a gifted city that the only problem we have is our people. There are probably 100,000, it's close to that now, 100,000 people in Iowa City, and there's at least 99,000 different separate ideas. I think probably we've studied too much, and that everybody has an idea, but we've got to have a leader. That's the first thing, a leader. City manager should be it, but I haven't found one yet that really is a full leader, not just a job, a full leader of our community that can bring those good ideas together and sort out the wheat from the chaff. If we can do that, Iowa City doesn't have any problem.
Bill, looking back, what event or events, person or persons in your life maybe influenced you the most?
Has to be my father.
Your father. What was he like?
He was a hell of a guy.
I wish I would have known him.
He was every time you ever hear of a father-son combination or in business, you hear bad things about it. Well, that's not true at all. If you want to get along. On the ranch, we fought together. We had our backs to the wall of the barn together and being attacked. We were attacked from every angle, as far as when we were in the banking business together. We had many arguments. We went in the office and they closed the door. You'd think the roof was coming off. But when we came out of there, we were always together. So, he influenced me most. As I said, he was a hell of a guy.
Was he an optimist?
I think very much so.
He must have, to come out of the Depression and losing the ranch in South Dakota and starting all over and bringing his family to a new part of the country and a new type of a job.
And bringing it back.
Yes. What a success story.
It is.
Here you are, you're a four-generation family. Your father, you, your son, and now you have two granddaughters in the banking business. My goodness, how does this make you feel? It must make you feel very pleased.
Very proud. I'm very proud of all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be prouder when the other three grandchildren get there.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's in music. She's good.
Mm-hmm.
I tell her she'll probably be the next Beverly Sills.
Oh, she is good.
Now, that's her grandfather's idea.
Oh, okay. It's all right. You can be pleased for your grandchildren.
Yeah. The two boys, one of them's in the Peace Corps, one of them's working in Chicago right now, and they're both doing fine.
Good.
I would hope that one of them would at least go into the banking profession.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't given up hope.
You haven't given up. That fish hook is in this whole family of bank.
Selling it.
You're selling it. Now, you retired in 1974
Yeah,
from the
December
bank.
31st, 74.
December 31st. You and your secretary of, how many, 42 years,
42,
Gladys
yeah,
Manning
yeah.
was? But you've not retired from, I mean, you've remained active. What have you been doing in your retirement years, besides having fun?
Well, what are you supposed to do other than have fun?
Well, some people find it hard to retire.
No, not me.
Not
I never
you.
had more fun. I haven't had more fun since I graduated from high school.
Great.
I've had a perfect time. I still keep my interest. I'm always interested in the economic growth of Iowa City. And I am always interested in the Iowa State Bank,
Sure.
which I still have ties to. I'm on the board of the Financial Corporation, which is a big corporation in the deal. But I don't take part in the everyday business of the bank. But I'll tell you something, I fish, and I fish. And I used to put fishing and hunting and playing golf. Now playing golf is fading away from me, not because I wanted to, because I can't swing the club hard enough anymore.
But you can still fish.
I can still fish,
And can you still hunt?
if I don't have to walk too far. So,
And now you've also gotten involved in SCORE.
yes.
I read an article. Tell me a little bit about this.
Well, SCORE is a service corps for retired executive. I have a hard time with that name sometimes.
Retired or executive? Which one?
You know, to get it all
To
together.
get it all together, right.
And it's, I've been associated with SCORE now ever since I retired, or almost since I retired. And I helped get this chapter down here started. And I believe in it. And we get letters, or people come in to see us from the area, or they send them from SBA in Cedar Rapids, Small Business Administration, St. Rapids, which we are associated with. And they are people who need help. And to just have one success out of maybe 100 is well worth the whole deal. It's free. We do it voluntarily. We do it to help people, and it's a good deal. If you like to help people.
Which, looking at your dossier and all your biography of, you have helped an incredible amount of people. I didn't get to touch earlier in the interview about, I think, probably a very important time in your life, besides growing up in South Dakota and your banking businesses, that during World War II, you were a naval commander in the Pacific and the Atlantic?
Yes.
What impact did that have on you? As a little boy from the South Dakota.
Well, I'll give you just a short deal on that. I was 33 years old and had two kids when when I got a commission in the Navy, I told my dad, I helped a farmer from here, from Iowa City, get his son's clothes back from Clark Field when he was killed over there when the Japanese bombed us. And every time that man came in the bank, I knew what he was saying. He'd look over the gate when he's up to the first window. I knew he was saying, there's a banker's son and he'll never have to go to this war. And I took that for about 2 or 3 months. I couldn't
take it.
hack it. So I went into Dad and I said, I'm going to sign up. They'll give me a commission. I'm going to go. And he said, you're crazy. I said, maybe, but I'm going. Got to do one crazy thing. So I did. I got a commission. At the same time, we had a pre-flight school here. I thought they'd send somebody like me with my banking background, that they would send me back here in pre-flight school and let me do some of their book work and send some of those young bucks off to Pacific. No, they didn't read that part of my application or resume. They read the part at the bottom that said I was a trap shooter. And they made a gunnery officer out of me right off the bat. And 90 days later, I was at sea.
In the Pacific? In
the Pacific. I spent a year in the Pacific and a year in the Atlantic. In the Atlantic, by the way, I was one of the first big ships in the Normandy invasion. And how the impact it had on me? My hair was almost solid red when I left. When I came back 3 years later, it was almost this color.
That's why.
I think maybe that says
a lot about
I don't like to be shot at.
Absolutely. And your father, he forgave you for going off, and he was probably so glad to see you home alive and safe.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a remarkable career, and I'm so happy you were my guest today. And
it's been my pleasure.
The story that you have heard has been that of Bill Summerwill's husband, father, grandfather, banker, supporter of a multitude of civic, health, business, university, and art organizations. He is truly one of Iowa City's outstanding citizens.